Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, retired NYPD Sergeant Bill Cannon, a 27-year veteran of the NYPD. You know, with the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the arrest and charging of Tyler Robinson, that question is still out there. Everyone involved in this case, everyone that was reporting on this case wants to know what was the motive? And it seems that many have agreed after, this is the eighth day after this assassination of Charlie Kirk. Many people have finally agreed that the motive appears to be hatred. Hatred that Charlie Kirk was accused of spreading hateful words in his conservative outlook on things. Certainly, hatred came into play when this man, Tyler Robinson, decided to go up on a rooftop on the Utah Valley University campus with a Mossberg 30-06 and assassinate Charlie Kirk. Now, that's one of the arguments everyone's having. What is freedom of speech? And what is hate speech? Is there hate speech? If you're defining certain speech as hatred, then again, the question begs to be asked, then what is freedom of speech? Can you say things that are hateful? Can you say things that offend people? You always heard, anyone that's ever studied law has heard the parameters of speech to be, well, you have freedom of speech, but you certainly can't go into a crowded movie theater and scream fire for obvious reasons. It would cause a stampede and people would get hurt. So that is the extreme of freedom of speech, when the writers of the law have considered that and said, no, that is the farthest stretch. That's the parameters of it. You can't go into a crowded movie theater and scream fire. So proverbially, there's other ways that people will object to something similar to yelling fire in a crowded movie theater. So folks, hold on to your hats, hold on to your loved ones, hold on to your thoughts. You're about to enter true crime from a police perspective. You're about to enter the off-the-cuff zone, the police off-the-cuff zone. There has to be some common sense.
They were the ones who called 911 to get him help, and now they're calling for change.
You know, according to the New York Times, texts from suspect in Charlie Kirk shooting offer insight into a motive. So I think it's sort of going to be realized that the motive was about hatred. Prosecutors said that 22-year-old man accused of killing Charlie Kirk had texted his romantic partner, "I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out." The 22-year-old man accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk said in text messages that to his romantic partner that he had enough of the hatred and he had planned to take out Charlie Kirk. Mr. Robinson was charged with aggravated murder on Tuesday, as well as several crimes related to his direction to his partner to delete incriminating text messages and not to talk to the police. A charging document filed by prosecutors in court said that Mr. Robinson's mother told investigators that her son had grown more political and that his political views had moved to the left over the last year or so. She also told police that he had become more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. Mr. Robinson's partner, who was living with him, had been transitioning to being a woman from a man. according to prosecutors. The text message between Mr. Robinson and his partner was reproduced by prosecutors in the charging document. It showed that Mr. Robinson had texted his partner shortly after the shooting on Wednesday about a note left under his keyboard, which read, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." The partner reacted with shock, asking him if he was joking. "You weren't the one who did it, right?" the partner wrote. "I am. I'm sorry," Mr. Robinson responded. So that also opens up another question. How much did his romantic partner, who's identified as Lance Twiggs, the male transitioning to a female, how much did he know and when did he know it? And again, getting back to the theme of this, is this about hatred? And it appears that, yes, it is about hatred. And if we want to look into this, let's listen to what Charlie Kirk himself said about freedom of speech.
Charlie Kirk strongly defended and modeled the principles of free speech.
Way of life means you speak your mind without retribution, without being kicked off social media by a self-righteous censor in Silicon Valley.
Free speech is our birthright as Americans. When you have free speech, we're going to get closer to the truth, closer to the best way to govern, closer to the best polity for the country.
You should be allowed to say outrageous things. You should be allowed to say contrarian things.
Now, teachers and professors, even pilots are among those who have been fired or suspended after making inappropriate comments about Kirk's murder online. Moments ago, Attorney General Bondi warning, quote, hate speech that crosses the line into threats of violence is not protected by the First Amendment. It's a crime. And for far too long, we've watched the radical left normalize threats, call for assassinations, and cheer political violence. That era is over. Fox News contributor Jonathan Turley argues Charlie Kirk wouldn't fire people who hated him, he'd win them over, and he joins us now. Professor, I know you're free speech peers. I am in many respects, but it looks like some of these professors are crossing the line and celebrating, glorifying murder.
Well, Lawrence, there is no question how grotesque these statements are, and that is what Charlie did, is he held a mirror to the face of higher education to show the hypocrisy, hate, the intolerance that has taken over our campuses. That's why they hated him. That's why, in all likelihood, he died, because he was such a figure of clarification, to expose all of this. It would be a disservice to his life and legacy to use this murder to attack the very thing he fought for most, which is free speech. I knew Charlie. I liked him a great deal. And I respected the fact that he was someone who opposed all cancel campaigns, left and right. Now, that doesn't mean that you cannot take measures against individuals who do cross the line. There's a teacher who played this video of the assassination and raved about Kirk in a classroom in Canada. Of course, that person should be fired. There's a Secret Service agent who glorified or condoned this killing. That's really incompatible with that position. When you have people who are using their positions, their official titles, if they're doing this during work hours, they can be punished. They can be terminated. But at the same time, we have to honor Charlie's legacy by saying that he wanted debate. He didn't want to silence people. He wanted them to speak. He wanted them to speak to him. And we do that by protecting free speech.
Let's talk about that debate, because Bill Maher puts it this way about one side is open to having a debate, but the other side isn't. Let's play it.
They're the people who don't want to talk. It's my main issue with them. And Charlie Kirk was a guy who, he was always talking. And I talked to him here. You know, the right-wingers, say what you want about them, but they talk to you. They're not into this leftist think. The left really has much more of a, I don't talk to you, I don't want to deal with you, you're deplorable, I can't break bread with you. That attitude, and all the right-wingers, they don't have that attitude.
So, sort of interesting. So, one of the questions I have is who you are in life, your position, teacher, doctor, lawyer, police officer, um, does that set the parameters of free speech? If someone says something derogatory about the assassination of Charlie Kirk and they are a college professor, does that impinge upon their freedom of speech? Are they allowed to say that? Does their position allow them to have freedom of speech? It would seem not, because we're seeing certain professions losing their jobs for exercising free speech. And again, I have a problem with recognizing at what point is freedom of speech hatred and hate speech. At what point do we say that that is hate speech and it's not freedom of speech, it's hate speech? So that, I think, needs to be defined. What are the parameters of freedom of speech? And I think we all need that defined, because we can't know ahead of time when there's freedom of speech, of when it's okay and when it's not okay. And I think we've gotten into this before with what is hate speech. This is what it was reported that Tyler Robinson's mom said right before his arrest.
Robinson's mother stated that the following to police. On September 11th, 2025, the day after the shooting, Robinson's mother saw the photo of the shooter in the news and thought the shooter looked like her son. Robinson's mother called her son and asked him where he was. He said he was at home sick and that he had also been at homesick on September 10th. Robinson's mother expressed concern to her husband that the suspect shooter looked like Robinson. Robinson's father agreed. Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views. In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU, which Robinson said was a stupid venue for the event. Robinson accused Kirk of spreading hate. Robinson's father reported that when his wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter in the news, he agreed that it looked like their son. He also believed that the rifle that police suspected the shooter used matched a rifle that was given to his son as a gift. As a result, Robinson's father contacted his son and asked him to send a photo of the rifle. Robinson did not respond. However, Robinson's father spoke on the phone with Robinson. Robinson implied that he planned to take his own life. Robinson's parents were able to convince him to meet at their home. As they discussed the situation, Robinson implied that he was the shooter and stated that he couldn't go to jail and just wanted to end it. When asked why he did it, Robinson explained there is too much evil and the guy, referring to Charlie Kirk, spreads too much hate. They talked about Robinson turning himself in and convinced Robinson to speak with a family friend who is a retired deputy sheriff. At Robinson's father's request, the family friend met with Robinson and his parents and convinced Robinson to turn himself in. The family friend spoke to police and reported telling Robinson that it would be best if he brought all evidence with him to the sheriff's office to avoid police having to search his parents' home. The friend also asked Robinson if he had any clothes that were related to what he did. Robinson replied that he had disposed of the clothes in different areas.
So that gives us a little background. Obviously, this crime was premeditated. He had planned it. When did he know that he was going to do this? And when did the people around him, for example, his roommate, Lance Twiggs, how much before the shooting and the planning of Charlie Kirk did the people around him know that he was going to do this? Premeditated, yeah. Hatred, yes, absolutely. And the other question that begs to be asked is, was Tyler Robinson radicalized by online forces that convinced him to take action against this? Folks, this is the new sponsor of the Police Off the Cuff podcast, FanDuel. FanDuel is the new sponsor for the Police Off the Cuff podcast, FanDuel. Football season's finally here. Have you checked out the latest odds, futures, and win totals on FanDuel Sportsbook? Think the Bills are headed to the Super Bowl? You can lock in your bets today, whatever your game. FanDuel Sportsbook delivers the latest lines, futures, and specials so you can join in on all of the action. I'm eyeing college football. Who's your pick for the Heisman? Plus, I'm loading up on parlays and player props like Saquon Barkley breaking his own single-season rushing record. With the Major League Baseball postseason right around the corner, FanDuel has you covered with player specials and unique props. Whatever your game, FanDuel Sportsbook delivers the latest lines, futures, and specials so you can join in on the action. FanDuel, the new sponsor of the Police Off the Cuff podcast. We're thrilled to have them. So, folks, that's my big question today. Hatred was the motive for the shooting of Charlie Kirk. Hatred. And then the interesting question that is a complicated question is, when is freedom of speech no longer free? When is it considered to be hate speech? And can, by defining speech as hate speech, allow the powers that be to censor people, to object to what someone is saying? So, motive. All persons in the media seem to have been asking that question. There's no clear motive in this case. Well, I submit to you that the motive was as clear as the nose on your face, as they say, right? The motive was hatred for an ideology. The motive was hatred for a person who was speaking about this ideology or this political thought. And someone objected to this. This individual here, Tyler Robinson, objected to it to the point where he got a semi-automatic rifle and perched atop a building on the Utah Valley University campus and fired one shot, killing Charlie Kirk. So is the motive clear now? Is it clear? Or are we still not sure that hatred was the motive for this case? Or, what we see in many of these shootings is mental illness. Is that what's going to be alleged, perhaps as a defense? Was Tyler Robinson mentally ill? I'm not saying that that's not a possibility. Absolutely, this could be about mental illness. But when does hatred become mental illness, or when does mental illness become hatred? Very complicated topics within this investigation, and we as the public and we as the press, a free press, have the right to ask these questions. What was the motive? And what everyone in the media seems to be insisting on knowing immediately is, did he act alone? But I would say 8 days after this assassination is much too soon for the FBI or any other investigative body to say, yes, Tyler Robinson acted alone. I don't think they can say that right now. I think much more investigation is necessary in order to determine that. Many more phones have to be gone through. Many more computer databases must be searched. Many more people must be spoken to. And it must be determined whether or not, in fact, Tyler Robinson acted alone. Because right now, I don't think we could say that. I don't think we could say that he acted alone. I think that we need much further investigation. So, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. These are some of the questions I think that are raised by this investigation, by this assassination of Charlie Kirk. And let's hope that this is the last of such assassinations, that we somehow come together as a nation, come together as a people, and talk to each other rather than hate each other. I'm Bill Cannon from Police Off the Cuff. Thanks for tuning in. See you the next time.
One episode just ain't enough.